Nelson Mandela Bay's deputy mayor is fighting back. Facing criminal charges she claims are politically motivated, she says she's been vindicated and vows to expose what she calls a smear campaign. As her legal battle intensifies, the power struggle gripping the metro is only getting hotter. The battle lines in Nelson Mandela Bay are once again drawn, not over potholes or service delivery or housing, but in a courtroom, in the media, and deep within the political trenches of the Eastern Cape. At the center of the latest storm stands Nelson Mandela Bay's deputy mayor, surrounded by scandal, accusations, political whispers, and legal warfare. But this time, she's not backing down. In fact, she says she's been vindicated. And far from retreating, she's promising to keep fighting until the truth is laid bare for the nation to see. In a dramatic twist that has gripped local headlines and electrified political circles across the country, the embattled deputy mayor of NMB declared that the criminal charges leveled against her were not only baseless but part of a broader and calculated smear campaign to destroy her reputation and drive her out of office. Standing tall before a buzzing press gallery, she painted a picture of political sabotage cloaked as a legal process, where power struggles masquerade as justice and enemies within her own ranks, she alleges, are pulling strings from behind the scenes. Her supporters call her a survivor. Her critics call her desperate. But what cannot be denied is that she is a political force refusing to be erased. Despite being dragged through the mud of public opinion, placed under the microscope of legal scrutiny, and targeted by what she calls a relentless media machine, she remains in office, and defiant. The courtroom has become just another stage in a political theater where perception matters as much as proof, and image is everything. And in this war of image, the deputy mayor is playing to win. She argues that the charges against her, from procurement irregularities to alleged abuse of municipal resources, are rooted not in fact, but in fear. Fear from those who see her rising star as a threat. Fear from factions who want her out so they can consolidate their hold on the city's fractured coalition. Fear from old allies turned enemies who, she says, would rather see the entire municipality burn to the ground than watch her succeed. To her, this is not just a court case, it is a crucible. A test of political resilience. And she is determined to emerge stronger. In an emotional address outside court, she told supporters that she had already been convicted in the court of public opinion long before her legal battle began. Headlines were written. Social media turned into a firing squad. Even council meetings, she says, became arenas of open hostility, whispers behind closed doors, and planned walkouts meant to undermine her leadership. This trial is not just about me, she said. It's about every woman in politics who dares to rise too far, too fast. It's about a system that punishes you for being unshakable. But for all her bold declarations, the trial is still underway, and serious allegations remain. The prosecution maintains it has evidence of improper conduct, links to irregular contracts, and a pattern of behavior that it says goes beyond mere coincidence. They say the case is not political, it's legal. And it is based on months of investigative work, whistleblower accounts, and internal audit findings that point toward misconduct. And so, the courtroom becomes a battlefield of two narratives, one of victimhood and resilience, the other of accountability and law enforcement. As the legal proceedings unfold, the political fallout continues to ripple. The municipality itself is under pressure, with coalition partners quietly debating whether continued support of the deputy mayor will come at too high a cost. Rumors of a no-confidence motion swirl, and the ANC's regional leadership is reportedly watching closely, calculating whether standing by her helps or hurts their broader 2026 election strategy. Meanwhile, opposition parties are capitalizing on the controversy, portraying the entire administration as broken, bloated, and beyond redemption. But inside the metro, something more dangerous is brewing: public anger. Residents of Nelson Mandela Bay are tired. Tired of scandal after scandal. Tired of politicians fighting for power while the lights go out, the taps run dry, and jobs disappear. For many, this trial is just another distraction in a long line of distractions that allow service delivery to crumble. The sentiment on the ground is clear: people don't care who wins the political chess match. They care whether the buses run on time, whether their kids are safe walking to school, whether their vote meant anything at all. Yet, despite the noise, despite the courtroom drama and the public outrage, the deputy mayor is not going anywhere, at least not yet. She insists that the smear campaign against her is unraveling, that the truth is surfacing, and that in the end, justice will be hers. Her legal team claims that key witnesses have contradicted themselves, that documents presented by the state lack context, and that the real story, the hidden story, is one of manipulation from higher up. They promise that when their turn comes to present evidence, the entire narrative will shift. Her resolve has hardened. And in many ways, she has flipped the script. She's using the courtroom not just to defend herself, but to wage a political comeback in real time. Every appearance is a chance to speak directly to the public. Every delay becomes proof of a conspiracy. Every legal point becomes a talking point. She has turned prosecution into publicity, and the case against her into a campaign for political martyrdom. In a country where public sympathy often leans toward those seen as victims of corrupt systems, she is working that narrative to perfection. There is also a larger national context at play. South African politics is currently a minefield of coalitions, backroom deals, and party betrayals. Local governments across the country are falling like dominoes under the weight of factionalism. In that sense, Nelson Mandela Bay is not an outlier, it's a symptom. The same sickness that infects politics in Joburg, Ekurhuleni, and Tshwane is eating away at governance in the Eastern Cape. And the deputy mayor's trial is just one more headline in a country drowning in political drama. Still, this one feels different. Because win or lose in court, she has already reframed the battle. She's positioned herself not as a public servant under investigation, but as a warrior under siege. Not as a politician clinging to power, but as a truth-teller fighting a corrupt machine. And in South Africa, that kind of narrative has power, especially in a time when people feel let down by almost every political structure that exists. It remains to be seen how the court will rule. Justice must still take its course. But the political war is already raging outside the courtroom. And for the deputy mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay, the fight is far from over. She's vowed to keep going, to keep speaking out, and to make sure that her story, whatever it may be, isn't buried under headlines, hashtags, or political betrayal. This is what real power struggles look like in modern South Africa. Not just in parliaments or protests, but in courtrooms, in city halls, and in every home where someone is asking the same question: who do we trust, and who is just playing the game better?